I am fully present, and I'm going to engage chapter 6 of Grow. It's called Unbridled Truth, and it's one of the topics that I think I've been maybe most fiery over in my tenure as a manager, and that is the importance of bringing truth to each other when we're engaging and working together. And I feel like in the world today, there is a culture in many places, if not most places, of sort of niceties and politeness. And I talk that one of the examples I use is that if every time you get up in front of a group and talk, and you get and you sit down afterward, and everybody tells you were awesome and you hit it out of the park and how amazing you were and so on, as a person, you don't hit it out of the park every time. But what we need is we need the real field feedback, and then that 1 out of 7 times that you do hit it out of the park and people come up to you and give you that feedback, that's meaningful, right? And so chapter 6 really focuses on the fact that earnest, honest, truthful engagement and feedback is one of the most generous and loving things that we can do for each other. And when it comes from a place of love for each other, it is the sort of ultimate gift that we can give to each other. And I use an example in my book from my personal life where my daughter was a volleyball player, and she was playing in a whatever you call it, a club here in Ann Arbor, and she enjoyed it, and she came to me after going to a University of Michigan volleyball game, and she said, I think I want to play volleyball for the University of Michigan. I was like, oh, okay. Yeah. I didn't say much at that point. And then, I don't know, like 2 weeks later, she came to me and she said that she wanted to play on a travel team that was at a different club. And, so she went to the tryouts and she made the team, which I was surprised at because she's not very good. Right. And these private clubs, I mean, these are for-profit businesses, right? So I'm pretty sure they just wanted my $3,800 for the 13-week session. But anyway, so she makes this team, and then I looked out at the schedule and I realized like she's going to be out of town 8 out of 13 weekends, and the rest of the family's going to have to facilitate that travel. And so I sat her down, we were at dinner and we were talking about it. And I just said, you know what, like, you're asking for a major sacrifice from this family. You have this aspiration of playing Division I volleyball, and you're not very good, honey. Right? Like I'm sorry, but you don't practice, you don't play volleyball outside of your scheduled appointments at the club, so on and so forth. Right? Well, I got in big trouble for my wife. She thought I was way too harsh and so on. But my point in that story is it's like, you can't let people you love live in a fantasy. And I think it's Kim Scott, or it might be Susan Scott, I'm not sure, but one of them talks about interrogating reality. And that's what we need to be doing together. Like, we all build stories and fanciful tales in our brains, right? Both on the positive end and on the negative end. And what we need to do together, and what leadership needs to do with their teams, is sit together side by side and interrogate reality and make sure that our own individual perception of what's happening in the world, that we need input on whether that is actually reality. And maybe one other opinion isn't full reality, but at least it's a nice dose of reality. So, I think that the other thing about feedback that I talk about the importance level of is it's really truly the informal feedback that's really valuable. And so when we're engaged in minute-to-minute day by day work together, and you understand and know the things that I'm working on in my life, right? Because I've talked to you about those things and the blind spots that I'm trying to interrogate. It's the instantaneous feedback in the moment when behavior occurs that's important. And the formal feedback processes, I think, generally speaking, are pretty stale and old. And, people don't necessarily want to be critical, as critical as maybe they should be in a formal process, because that goes on the record and it's in a file. And, so I think people are a little more hesitant to really bring truth and reality. So the informal, in the moment, when you see behaviors happening, is when we need to be giving that feedback. And I'll just tie this back to two things in our core values, and that is have courage. It's very, very hard to approach somebody with critical feedback, but we have to have the courage to do it, especially if it's someone senior to you in the organization, or more tenure. And then the other thing is that we need to live consciously, right? And so that this concept of unbridled truth, I think, fits well within both of those core values. If we're living consciously, we're in the moment, we're bringing people feedback on the real information that's occurring in front of us. So that's chapter 6, Unbridled Truth.